I'm extremely honored to be here today with you all. And the mood, which is so palpable, energizes me. So thank you very much, Madam Principal, the Vice Chancellor of Delhi University, and also the Governor of the Chairman of the governing body. It's such a inspirational start when you see energetic students before you. So thank you very much for being here in this number. Today is National Voters Day. And that's because this is the day when, in 1950, the Election Commission was formed. Why is it important? It's because when you're talking about Vikasit Bharat and when you're talking about empowering youth for it, the country needs to have that kind of a democracy where duty is taken as a good virtue rather than be looked at with a scorn saying, oh God, who's talking about this now? My rights are more important. So, duty is something which all of us will have to feel and feel for. And I'm actually happy that the Election Commission has started an awareness campaign on this day and probably will continue for some more days or probably a couple of weeks for building awareness, for building consciousness about why we need to vote and also to register as a voter. And I'm sure many of you all are going to be first-time voters. So it's important, and they've taken this one-line motto, if you want to call it, my vote, my duty. I am glad that they've said. It would have been easy to say, my vote, my right. It is certainly our right as a citizen of this country, once you're eligible to vote. But it is more appropriate, particularly given the fact that we're looking at 2047 as a developed India, Vikasit India. We now should take every vote as our duty to vote and ensure that you're not going to take it as an off day, holiday, picnic day, going away with the family day, and who'll sweat it out standing in a queue before the polling booth day. No, it has to be, I will go cast my vote and I will choose that leader in my constituency who's going to be dedicated for this country. So be sure that you're choosing the right person. So I'll start with that because today is a very important day. But more important, I would think, is the fact that Hindu College is now going to be 125 years older than the Delhi University. Gives you a bit more of a right to talk up to the Vice Chancellor to say, hey, listen to us. And also, your parliament is older than the national parliament, which is what the speaker said. So in every way, you are going to be the wise, old, young population. And I think that's a very strong point to stand up and have this, as was said by your chairman, was it, or principal, have this strategic dialogue. The strategic dialogue about empowering youth for a Vikasit Bharat. So you have a bigger, greater role to play. One, to set the agenda, to play the role yourself and be the messenger for students all over the country. And I'm not setting a new responsibility on you, but a wonderful history that your college has had. I think it is now on your shoulder to replay that role. what kind of people have passed through these college corridors. Of course, 3 of them are my own colleagues. Hardeep Puri, Meenakshi Lekhi, Rao Inderjeet Singh. And of course you have them all in every walk of life. Sports, you have your Gambhir. And for those of us, the chairman governing body mentioned about South, North and Hindi, non-Hindi. Manoj Kumar used to be that one person who's acting, who's singing, who's whatever, used to be shown during Independence Day, during Republic Day in the South, because that was the only set of patriotic Hindi songs we could hear. So he's from your college, isn't he? So you actually have so many great people, inclusive of the chairman of your governing board, who have all been, educated in this institution. Great diplomats, great journalists have all come through these portals. I was very impressed when I read that, was it the rector of this college or warden of one of your hostels, who had silently kept Chandrasekhar Azad, although he was staying here in Coventry. And the story doesn't end there. He was pulled up, he was taken to task, he probably even was put to jail for having kept him here. People dared the British government from here. Several meetings were held as to what India would do once it gets its independence in Hindu college. So even with the British around, what is now, of course, popularly, not so popularly called as Macaulaism, which is not new to us or only unique to India. If I can recall, even countries like Singapore have an equivalent for Macaulaism. I think it's called Pinkerton syndrome or something in Singapore. That you want to have the English language, no doubt. But you don't want that formula of education here. You want a formula of education which will be very rooted in India. And the founding members of this college established this college in 1899 as a counter to that Macaulaism. Look at the foresight. Amazing foresight. And it is because of that, people who are grounded in Indian value systems, who felt for the nation, and who really wanted India to be unique in its own way, but yet be at par with the countries abroad, had a wonderful blend of infusing Indian values, thinking for the country, putting the country before us, but yet taking the education which has been given to us. That kind of a blending can be done only by college managements which understand what role education plays in the so-called man or person making process, which is required for every country. When you go abroad, like many of the references made here, they seek Indian students. They want Indian graduates. You have the same set of skills like many others, some even better skill sets than us. But we are preferred because we are good team players. We understand the role of leadership when it is with somebody else, and the role of leadership when it is given to you. So it is that blend of values and working conditions that you understand that Indian students or Indian graduates are preferred in workplaces. But yet sometimes we can also be a free radical, and that is where you find stray examples of people probably doing things so very differently. Sometimes fits in the system in which they belong, or sometimes it doesn't. But on an average, Indian students are preferred because of these unique attributes with which we are brought up. And I would think, therefore, for a college like Hindu, with the glorious history that you have played in India's freedom movement, for achieving political independence, governing independence, independence to rule ourselves. Today we'll have to repeat that role for economic independence and economic Atmanirbharta. And that is why I say you have in you already those qualities which require the grit, the determination, the angst to take this country forward. That's your history. Time has now come for you all to take that history up and now build up for an India which is going to be devoid of those problems which most of your family members, elders in your family, your teachers would know about. In spite of this excellent energy with which India wanted to grow post-independence, not till recently could we get a telephone in our houses without the recommendation of an MP. Not till recently could we get even a gas cylinder to keep in the kitchen without a recommendation. Not till recently could we have better roads, better airports, better, stations, railway stations. And not till recently, there were enough medical admissions, seats in medical colleges, seats in engineering colleges. Engineering was slightly better than the medical, but today all of them are being ramped up with a sense of urgency. If you ask me, in the last 10 years, what's so different? Even governments earlier provided roads. Even earlier, governments provided houses. We also gave drinking water down to the level of villages. But I'm purposely saying this, in 2014, there were still a huge number of them waiting for their houses, waiting for water, waiting for electricity. And when I say huge numbers, more than 50% of those who deserve it were still without one. 70 years, or let's say 60 years, 50 years, went without that sense of urgency, saying if we don't give this basic connectivity, when are we going to empower people to do their own, choose their own, decide on their own to say, this is how I want my family, my children to progress? You're leaving them to fight for the basic necessities. So that's where I want to say, the underlying principle cannot be, and I am coming back to this duty versus right, empowerment versus entitlement, that unless we empower our citizens, not just to vote, but also to say, yes, my basic needs are all available, not because I'm entitled to it, but everybody has got it, I've also got it. Will I have the peace of mind to say where my students should go, children should go to a school, where I should go get a treatment and so on. So that's the underlying principle with which between 2014 and today, we have done with a sense of urgency. Push the border forward, take it further, make sure everybody who's actually eligible to get those should get it, and equally make sure that every local talent, every product that comes out of local, let's say, legacy, should also find a market, should also find global access to markets and so on. So the approach being empower people, approach being skill people, approach being give access to people, and approach being ensure that everyone gets good health, treatment for medical care and so on. We have expanded that, and we are today close to saturation in many of these fundamental things which should be available irrespective of who you are. So there is no way we are going to differentiate between citizens, say, he is more entitled, he is less entitled, you can wait, he should get it today, but I have only few, so even there I will ration. That doesn't happen, everybody gets it. So today we have, like for instance, you see, building the foundation of Viksit Bharat. I would think the material foundation is already laid. But for the growing population, growing youth, young, who need more skills, who need to upgrade their skills, who need to see those opportunities which are available, not just the old ones which have existed for a very long time. You need the newer areas also to get priority. That's why we have placed this importance on sunrise sectors. We want these newer centers of excellence which we are building for AI, artificial intelligence, newer areas which are old but the methodologies will have to change, forensic sciences, bring in technology so that people's lives are made easier and so on. So I would just very quickly say, I'm not recalling the history of this institution more because I'm here, I need to praise you, not at all. Tell me how many colleges have this wonderful history to inspire you and to replicate that history for the future's sake. And as I said, then it was political independence, now it's economic independence. You are the ones who are going to do it for us. Your history should be our future. And I strongly believe when I say this. Your history should be our future because you are the people who will have to now set the agenda, remembering what your seniors, what your elders did for this country's independence. So when I said government has spent time empowering people, giving fundamental requirements, I'll just quickly run through those which are important for us to recall. Today, I said we don't differentiate between people. I'm not saying somebody should get it, somebody should wait for it to come to them later. And that is why today you hear the Honorable Prime Minister repeatedly saying, I'm looking at today's India for 4 groups which will include every section of our society if only I'm able to address each one of them. And who are the 4? Yuva, which is where you are, which is where you are. Women, those who give us the food security, the farmers, and then the unfortunate poor who still need some more support for them to get uplifted. So just these 4 groups, everything will be focused towards their betterment. Then you don't really get into this whole thing about, which caste, which community, which religion, everybody is covered in this. And therefore you plan yourself in such a way that you're able to support. So what are we doing? Are we giving them just more money? No. Youth are exposed to greater opportunities, greater skills. It is for them to understand where they fit properly and then become entrepreneurs, become scientists, become trained anybody. And for them, there's quite a lot of such programs which comes through the National Education Policy. The farmers, for instance, are today being exposed to newer, natural way of farming, which will bring down their costs. They're given income supplement. They're also exposed to newer technologies which can help them, the drone technology, in which incidentally the women get tied up because they are the ones who are operating in the villages. The drones for the farmers. And the Garib, for whom of course I've repeated that we'll reach saturation to give them the house, water, electricity, road connection, and so on. I therefore appeal to the management of Hindu College. You have 2 pillars on which you are going to empower your students towards Viksit Bharat. And I would say, one is values and the other one is skills and technology, which with your talent can become a great value addition to. When I talk of values, I'm talking of both civilizational values and nationalistic values. And that's where the civilizational values, today we are in such a fortunate time, which generations before us had to just say, well, we are here, but we don't know when things can change for us. Today we see the generations before us who have not seen the fortunate moment, through our eyes are able to see that the restoration of civilizational values has been seen on the 22nd, which all of us, we were all in different parts of the country, but all of us through the country saw it and lifted our head with such happiness. And I'm sure you saw it, the Pran Pratishta in Ayodhya was such a wonderful experience. For generations to come, this day will be remembered as a very important civilizational marker. Next, of course, is the nationalistic value, about which I've spoken a lot. Two things at the ground level, which I think will strengthen that, is all of you, irrespective of your tastes, aptitude, whatever, should play some games. You need to be together, play, compete, fight, but end that at the end of the game and go back. That energy release and playing together builds some values which you'll cherish much afterwards. And a second, which I submit, will have to be, you may want to consider giving time for that, is to sit together, read. Have somebody read for you, or you read each one your own book in your Kindle or in your book in your hand, or even better, there are some wonderful audio books. I would strongly recommend that you read the books or you hear the audio books. You'll honestly want to become a podcaster yourself. Such great activities are happening for us to read some wonderful classics, irrespective of the language or the civilizations from where they come from. So do these two things together, you realize what it gives to you subsequently. I think that would be in the values section. And of course, in skilling and talent, I would think it is important to rejig what is given to through the national education policy. Is a wonderful instrument, you can take it through that. Upgrade your skills, be tech ready. There's no way in which you can have any choice. You need to be tech savvy, but be ready to have tech on your hands. And of course, I've already spoken about government's attempts at AI and machine learning and so on. So with that, I'll stop my monologue, but if there's anything more, you can always ask me. So thank you very much.